Good afternoon, everyone who is here. Welcome to Only One Earth Act Now. This is the third edition of this 24-hour non-stop. We call it environmental fate because we will be over next 24 hours. We'll be listening, watching, hearing from all across the world. We have participants from over 7 countries, and this 24-hour show is supposed to reach around 1 million participants across the world. This is something that brings together people from all walks of life, from all corners of Earth for just one cause. And the cause affects all our lives. We don't have to tell you there's only one Earth, and we desperately need to save ourselves. I won't say save the planet because the planet does not need our help. We need to help ourselves. So thank you very much. We have around 5,000 registrations, 10,000 indirect entries, over 200 applicants, and we have around 70 guests, as I said, right across from United Nations to 10-year-old climate activists who will be watching, hearing, and sharing with them over the next 24 hours. So welcome you all. The two people, key people who are important today in the show is Mr. Ronnie Anthony from Taiwan, who will be hosting along with me. And of course, the host is school, Brookfield International School in Chandigarh. I have a very special guest, a friend, a long-term friend, and a good support behind the curtains, Dr. Rajesh Chandel from Gyan Ganga International School, Jabalpur. Now, I don't want to name people because there are so many people and their roles are so important that it will be very, very unfair for me not to acknowledge them, but that's not possible to do here. So thank you very much, all of you. With those words, I hand over the controls to Brookfield International School so they can proceed with the inaugural ceremony, and then we can proceed with our event. BFIS, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Awesome afternoon to each and everyone present here. A very warm welcome to all the eminent personalities, dignitaries, and the lovely young minds present with us today on the occasion of 50 years of United Nations Environment Program and World Environment Day. Let's all come together to celebrate and spread awareness about Only One Earth Act Now campaign.
I would request our worthy principal, Dr. Jay Kumar Singh, to escort the Honorable President of Brookfield International School, New Chandigarh, Mr. Manav Singla, for lamp lighting ceremony.
Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishami Siddhirbhavatu me sada. हे माता सरस्वती, सबकी कामना पूर्ण करने वाली, मैं अपनी विद्या ग्रहण करना आरंभ करता हूँ। मेरे इस प्रयास को सिद्ध करें। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा।
Thank you so much, sir. Now, hold your breath for the first performance. It's going to draw the strings of our hearts and add their soothing voices to cherish our souls by chanting a beautiful song. Over to you, Sableen ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sakshi ma'am. So yes, our students are all ready with their melodious voices to soothe your ears.
now I would request our Honorable Principal to enlighten us about the event.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen and welcome the chief guest for the day, Madam Pratibha Palad, Madam Padam Shri. Give me a second. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your availability every time for this show, and that makes a big difference. I would like to welcome and present my gratitude as I'm with my team, Brookfield International, got the opportunity to contribute their bit towards Mother Nature. And I think students, once again, they are ready for one more program. So over to Sableen, ma'am. On the behalf of everyone, I heartily welcome to the inaugurator and the dignity of the hour in the event. The guest of honor is Pushkar Vohra-ji, Joint Director, CBSC of India, and Pratibha Patilji, Padam Shri Awardee, and eminent Denshu. I was incredibly thankful to them for consenting us to grace the occasion and instantly agreed to be a part of the event with my entire team at Brookfield International School, New Chandigarh, and Act Now. Now, I would like to ask Pratibha Patil ma'am. Ma'am, you are there on Spotlight now. Share your valuable words. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Namaste, good morning, good afternoon, and thank you for thinking of me, and thank you for inviting me to partake in this extremely crucial and important program that you conduct year after year. Um, we believe in India that the globe is one world, and we've believed so for the longest ever time. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is what we believe in, which basically means that the whole world is one family, and if the family is safe, the community is safe. If the community is safe, the society is safe. The society is safe, the larger country, nation is safe, and if the nation is safe, the world is safe. In the last 2 years of the pandemic, we have seen how a microcosmic virus which started in one particular country could put halt to all activities all over the world, and how never before had we taken into cognizance the fact that something like this was even possible, that what affected one district of one state of one country could impact the entire world. Having seen this, there's an urgent necessity to talk about this concept of one earth and act now. I'm particularly happy that NGOs like Act Now, Sri Rajiv Srivastav and others are actively involved in trying to do something to preserve, to restore, whatever you want to call it, because, I mean, like you said, what can we do? I mean, to regenerate, initiatives that can protect our earth. So, the fact is that what have we done in the last so many years that have brought us to this stage where it's crucial right now to act, because if we do not act now, our children and our grandchildren may not even have a safe earth to live on. And we're talking of, safety in terms of climate change, safety in terms of ecological balance, safety in terms of forest cover, safety in terms of many other impactful incidents that we have seen world over happening because we have not been able, or we have not been sensitive to the needs of an eco-friendly life. Development and modernity, contemporaneity have their own place in the world. And man would always want to invent, innovate, make life easier. But that life, that process of making our lives modern or contemporary or easy, of what we think is easy, should not be at the cost of what nature has given us, should not be at the cost of what Mother Earth has provided us. In India, we believe that Earth is our mother. And like I often say, we say Pranamya Shirasa Deve, Pitamaha Maheshwara. Natyam Karishya Bhudevi. Bhudevi is Mother Earth. Padagata Shamasvame. Please forgive me for stepping on you. We even ask for forgiveness of Mother Earth, Bhudevi, for stepping on her, for stamping on her, because we believe that we should not, put our feet on something that we worship. So therefore, we worshipped in our ancient scriptures, our ancient, philosophy, our way of life of our forefathers, our ancestors. We believed that Earth was our mother, and that we had to revere her, that it was sacred, and that we could not even stamp on her. If we cannot, we're not supposed to do that, how can we cause this kind of devastation, this kind of unnecessary, uh, you know, uh, need-based devastation, need-based progress, which does not take into account the preservation, the worship, the sacredness of the environment that is around us, which is protecting us, which is providing for us, and which is nurturing us. So if we cut at the roots of what is nurturing us, what is providing for us, what is protecting us, then we're actually, destroying our own means of sustainable livelihoods and sustainable living. So for generations to come, I have this to say, that you have to consider Mother Earth as your mother, because it is your mother, and love her, preserve her, protect her, and see that no harm, no devastation is caused to her, because only then can she protect you and provide you comfort, provide you security, and provide you a sustainable livelihood, and a sustainable and an eco-friendly, manner of living. So having said this, these are just very few thoughts that I have in my mind. Just about 4 or 5 days ago, there was a hurricane in North India, and it caused a lot of devastation in central Delhi. Lots of trees got uprooted, big trees, trees that were almost 50, 60, 70, 100 years old, got uprooted. And having seen that devastation, so recently as like 3 or 4 days ago, and of course, seeing time and again what's happening around the world, our glaciers, our, the climate change, the impact of climate change, what's happening, the fire, the forest fire, things like that, which are impacting us, impacting several, members of the human race, day in and day out. And not just the human race, what about our animals, our, the animals, the birds, the other living beings that also share the sacred space with us. They share this Mother Earth with us. So we have a responsibility, we have a duty, and we have an urgent necessity to act now and to preserve our Mother Earth. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am, that, for your valuable words to start this program. Now, one more song is there, then I'll hand over mic to Rajiv. One more song. Sableen, over to you. Sableen, ma'am. Sableen, ma'am.
JK, may I interrupt for a second?
Yes, please. Yes, by all means. By all means, I'm
Meanwhile,
sharing.
before we get on to, we have three beauty queens. Destiny Wagner is waiting. She has joined live from Belize. Jemmy, our old friend, is here too. And our
Yeah, yeah.
own Miss Teen Earth, Rabia is here. So after this song, we're going to interact with them and get their inputs. Destiny is
Yeah.
very, very tired. She has just come back from a 4-year long uh, faith from
Sure.
Ministry of in Belize. So just
Sure.
hang on. We are back to you once the children have
Yeah,
performed.
yeah. I'll go for quick people, those who are there with us for 24 hours. I'll have 1 minute video, very short, and I'll show. Please. Pratibha Pillad, ma'am, is
Yes,
there from India.
yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. Pushkar Vora ji is there. And our president, Brookfield International School, Mr. Manav Singla ji. And Dr. Pratiksha, Dr. Chandel, and so many people from around Taiwan, India. So these are the distinguished guests, speakers for 2 days. Rajiv Srivastava, founder Act Now. I'm J.K. Singh, host for this event. Ronnie from Taiwan, coordinator, founder NetWest. Jamia from Philippines, Pavni, Nikhil Anand, Nicole Faria, Destiny, she is already there, I have seen her. Natalia from United Nations, Aparna, Ash, Dr. Ash Pachori, once again, Eric from UN, Vice Admiral Mika, Pika, Drishya, Kazia from ENO. So these are the speakers where you are going to listen for next 2 days, today and tomorrow. And they are there from 75 countries of the world. So this is a glimpse of that. And Miss Me, Ismi, she was there with us last year also. So these are the speakers for 2 days. And models and supermodels from different part of India. And they are also taking part as a speaker also in this event tonight, late night. All of them, they will be there in a two different slots. Satvika, Yashika, Aditi, Vaishnavi, Riddhi, Pallavi. So these are the supermodels, models, and beauty pageant, those who have taken part in a lot of beauty pageant events. Now, this time a student from all over the world, those who will be a part of our program. So this is a glimpse of that. These student, Vatsal is there from Brookfield, Aditya is there from Bombay. These are the grade 9 and 10 students from Brookfield International School. They will be there round the clock in a different slots. And students are there from Japan, from Dehradun, Taiwan. These students, they will be with us throughout this program, 2 days program. And the last but not the least, the more than 75 countries they are there, and this is all the coordinators of ENO. They are a part of this program, and we are really happy to see them from different part of the world. have patience. Now over to Sableen for 3-minute song of Act Now song. Please enjoy this. This is one of the best one which you are going to listen. Thank you very much, Sableen ma'am, and thank you very much all my dear students that you have done wonderful job. Now I'll request Rajiv Shrivastava, founder Act Now. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, JK sir. With the limitations of internet and Zoom sessions, obviously you suffered some of the audio problems also, but these are lovely rendition by the students. They have been working hard despite the school being closed for summer vacation. So thank you, JK sir. Thank you, Sableen, and thank you everybody at Brookfield International School for making it possible. This time now belongs to Destiny. Can you hear me? Destiny, please switch on your audio.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Destiny is Miss Earth 2021. We have an old association with Miss Earth Foundation. We are grateful for them for being with us every time we have something to do on the ground level. Destiny joins from Belize, a beautiful country, and she is very tired because she told me she is just back from 4-hour-long marathon from a ministry party on World Environment Day, related to World Environment Day. And she agreed. It's midnight, right? Midnight, 1 o'clock in Belize in the night.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Belize. And before I turn to you for discussions and for your presentation and what you're going to share with us, first of all, I'd like to thank all our organizing partners, which is Host School, Brookfield International School in Chandigarh, our own family Environment Online from Finland, Treebuddy from Finland, the Protect Our Planet movement run by Dr. Ash Pachori and World Sustainable Development Forum from USA, Envirate from Finland, Pacfpeace.net from Finland, Glamanand Foundation from India, Nest from Taiwan, and of course, the United Nations Environment Program, which is always very supportive of our events. And we have a small promo video for 1 minute long, and then we have a message from UNEP Chief Inger Anderson. So we like to play it out, and then we'll turn to Destiny. So JK sir, can we request you to play V1 track, and then after followed by V5? And can we request you to play track V2?
The idea of World Environment Day was born 50 years ago at the 1972 UN Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm. It was born out of the understanding that we need to stand up to protect the air, the land, water on which we all depend. It was born out of an understanding that the power of people matters and matters greatly. Today, as we look to a present and a future of heat waves, droughts, floods, wildfires, pandemics, dirty air, and plastic-ridden oceans, and yes, wars, action is more important than ever, and we're running against the clock. And this is on all of us. This means politicians who see beyond the election cycle to intergenerational wins. This means financial institutions that finance the planet. This means businesses that account for nature. This means a just and clean energy transition. This means people making smarter choices on what we eat, what we wear, and how we live. And this means cities where we can breathe. And this means legislators who protect the human right to a healthy environment. This movement that began in 1972 stands at a critical juncture today. It's now or never, because we are one people and we have only one earth. We have only one home, and that is worth standing up for.
And can I request you to play V7? This is the song that the students sang, but obviously the live audio quality is not good. So can you play V7 for Destiny especially? This is an audio track.
What's gone is gone, what's gone is gone, let's move on, let's move on. What we still have, let's build on. let's build on. What's gone is gone, what's gone is gone, let's move on, let's move on. What we still have, what we still have, let's build on, let's build on. The forest turned into concrete, let's all green them complete. The forest turned into concrete, let's all green them complete. The mountainside, the lake beside, the mountainside, the lake beside, the blue river that ran before, let's restore them for sure. The blue river that ran before, let's restore them for sure. What's gone is gone, what's gone is gone, let's move on, let's move on. What we still have, what we still have, let's build on, let's build on. The mighty ocean, the desert sand, the charm of the grassy field. Rewild them now, for they are the nature's shield. The mighty ocean, the desert sand, the charm of the grassy field. Rewild them now, for they are the nature's shield. What's gone is gone, what's gone is gone, let's move on, let's move on. What we still have, what we still have, let's build on, let's build on. We cannot turn back time, but with nature we can rhyme. And together we can, and together we will. Let's act now, let's act now, let's act now, our planet will be fine. What's gone is gone, what's gone is gone, let's move on, let's move on. What we still have, what we still have, let's build on, let's build on. What's gone is gone, what's gone is gone, let's move on, let's move on. What we still have, what we still have, let's build on, let's build on.
Thank you, JK sir and BFIS. Destiny is your time, but before that, I want you to meet a very teen young queen, Rabia Hora. She is all decked up with her crown and she's waiting to just meet you. And also Jamie Harrell, I hope you must have met her. She's a good friend. She's been with us since 2014 and she's always there for us. So thank you all of you. And probably somebody mentioned hurricane. You're the guys who cause hurricane in the world, isn't it? So Rabia, do you want to say anything to Destiny? Because he has to now move on to our presentation.
Yes, I just wanted to say that it's an absolute pleasure and honor to meet you, especially through the Act Now platform and on the celebration of Environment Day. And you're such an inspiration to me and so many other girls out there. So thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you.
So Destiny, over to you. We have a video from Mr. Foundation summarizing all their environmental actions since 2000 when they were formed, even before that. But I'll show that after the show because you've been waiting for long. So over to you, and please.
Okay, again, thank you again for inviting me. I think this is an absolutely wonderful event to host, and it's very fitting for my role as Miss Earth. So for those who don't know, my name is Destiny Wagner. I am 26 years old and I'm from Belize, Central America. Aside from being Miss Earth, I am an author and entrepreneur. So when I got this title, I definitely wanted to incorporate my skills that I already have. And I didn't really know what direction to go in or who I would be partnering with during my reign. But then I realized that it was very essential for me to partner with my government here in Belize. Because Belize has the largest living barrier reef. In fact, I just came back from a gala celebrating the 10,000th birthday of our barrier reef. So that's where I'll dress up like this. It's 1 a.m., so I definitely do not look like this all the time. It was an event that we had. But because we have this barrier reef that contributes so much to our economy and our livelihood, that's the direction that I wanted to take, which is why I focus on marine conservation. The governments that I currently work with is mainly within Belize, and that is with the Ministry of Blue Economy, Belize Tourism Board, as well as an NGO called Oceana. And all of the common goals is to protect and sustain our marine life, every aspect of our ocean. As an open water diver and as a snorkeler and a lover of all things that involve water, I noticed that a lot of the pollution that we find in our waters are often not even from Belize. We have packages and labels and plastics from different continents that float up onto our islands. And it's very unfortunate. As a smaller country, we do lack resources. And because of that, everything or natural disaster or every pandemic affects every country differently. And I think that we all have realized that or experienced that firsthand. The same event has different effects on different communities. And when you are not in a position financially, or if you do not have resources, it can really hurt an economy, it can really hurt a country, which is why Belize has no choice but to be on the forefront of sustainability along with other nations. I think that larger nations should hold themselves accountable. They have the resources and they have the power and they have the leaders who are very intelligent and they know what the necessary steps are to protect our planet and ultimately protect their country and other nations as well. And they just need to do so. I think that the definition of accountability is synonymous to responsibility, and we all have a responsibility as citizens of this earth. We live off our earth, we live off our waters. It provides jobs for the fishermen. It protects us from erosion and natural disasters. And it is home to thousands of different species and organisms. I think that moving forward, that we should all be more conscious and move to promote a more sustainable lifestyle. As individuals, it's very easy to feel hopeless. When I got my title as Miss Earth, I was ready to go out there and fight to save our planet. But as humans, we experience different emotions, and it's okay to feel hopeless in the fight. But we always have to remember that it's not a race. It's a marathon and it will take time, but we do have to start where we are at within our own country, within our own homes, and most importantly, within ourselves, and ask ourselves, what can we do as individuals in our everyday lives to protect our planet? Because once you take into consideration that and you change who you are and your daily lifestyle, then you have the power to influence and to change others. So as individuals, we may feel hopeless and we may feel weak or may feel as though we are working in vain, but in the long run, it is definitely not in vain, and we have the power to influence so many others. So with that being said, I'm very happy to be here. I'm very thankful that Rajiv has extended the invitation for me, and I hope that I will be.
Thank you, Destiny, so much. Jamie, I want to put her in the spotlight because there's some questions. Okay.
Yeah.
When we started this program, this is the third edition of this 24-hour long program. And initially it started in 2020, we were celebrating our 20 years of Environment Online. And we realized that we have lots of organizations working across the world. There are lots of youth, lots of volunteers. Governments obviously are not doing anything at all. So we realized there's a lot of ignorance, lot of unawareness. Lots of younger audience, the youth, the students, the teenagers, and just young adults. They want to do a lot of things, but they have no clue what they can do without implicating their lives. So we try to, even this, the purpose of this program is to bring different concepts, bring different kind of things that's happening across the world to the younger audience, so they get opened up to things that they can do. For instance, you just mentioned about Belize, and I brought Jamie on the screen also, because Philippines, they are basically based on the sea economy, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of blue economy, that the newer concept that has come, the newer term that is used. These are countries which are surrounded by sea and sea products, so their economy is based on that. Even in India, we have more coastal line than all our Belize and Philippines together, but because of the big land mass, we're not so dependent. The awareness of our dependence on sea is so less. So we are lucky to be associated with National Maritime Foundation, which is run by the Indian Naval Forces. It's an NGO, but supported by the Indian Naval Forces. And we'll have Vice Admiral in the evening, Mr. Pradeep Chauhan, who is an expert on blue economy. So the idea is to bring in together this concept from across the world. And so people like me, I had not heard about blue economy 2 years before, frankly speaking. So now I know so much why it is so important. So thank you, Destiny, for being there and being with us, and not only as Miss Earth also, but like Jamie is there from 2014. I know how busy you guys are. You're being pulled in all directions all the time, 24/7, but still you find time and join us. So thank you so much. And you being there is such a great motivator for the younger audience. Say the Miss Earth is coming, so they're also excited. They don't know these Earth are so hardworking. They just don't hold the crown. There's so much work that goes to get that crown, and even much more than that, just to hold on to that. So thank you very much. Jamie, I know your session is a little later, but an opening comment that you would want to make here now? You're such a good speaker. Your audio is off. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
I wasn't allowed to unmute. So yeah, actually, if you want, I can give my speech a little bit now, but
no. Yours is just opening comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Destiny actually has a lot of good pointers that you actually mentioned a while ago, and finally, like, we get to meet again on the digital platform. I've met Destiny last year while she was, I think, touring around, actually this year, I believe. So I'm really happy to see her on board with the Act Now conference, because this is actually an organization that I have been working with since my reign in 2014. And they actually are aligned with my advocacy, which is to educate the kids, because they're not only the people of tomorrow, but also the people of today, and they can make an impact also to society. And you really did also make a great point. I believe it was Rajiv that mentioned that government, corporations, big companies rather, and also private individuals also need to do a lot. But we cannot keep on pointing fingers, because as we have to remember, big consumer companies provide what the consumers wants and needs. And at the same time, we are the people that put the government into their seats. So we also have to point at ourselves. But overall, like, it has to be a team effort. We cannot keep on pointing fingers, but instead work together for a greener future. So yeah, that's a little takeaway that I have from the both of you. Oh, and Destiny also mentioned about coral reefs. And if all of you are interested in learning a bit more about it, for sure, there will be a speaker, because this is a 24-hour event and there are different speakers from different countries. For sure, more people will tackle on it. But if you want to also watch a documentary, I highly recommend watching Chasing Corals. And it talks about climate change and global warming and how it affects global reefs, coral reefs rather. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you so much. And I know Destiny is tired, but anytime during 24 hours, if you're free, just pop on and we'll be happy to see you here. We have a video from Miss Earth Foundation, and then I would like to show you the theme song in video format. Last year we composed.
plastic, waste chemicals, and other pollutants. 80% of marine pollution originates on land from farms, cities, and factories. Marine debris, particularly plastic, is blown in through our winds or washed in through our drains. In our oceans, there is more plastic than fish. 8 million metric tons. That is how much plastic is dumped into our oceans each year. That's about 17.6 billion pounds. By 2050, plastic will outweigh our ocean's aquatic life. Think about that the next time plastic is improperly disposed. In your future, would you wish to swim among the beauty and the brilliance of aquatic life? Or would you rather swim surrounded by plastic?
Spreading love and joy, fun and laughter, woman of the earth, making miracles forever after.
And track
I saw a patch of earth, and I thought I will. I see a patch of earth, and I will act now. Every of air I take in, wondering I'm healthy within. To clear the air of doubt, I better act it out. Little drops of water that promise life, get it to my beginning, causing a strife. I have to act now. If I have to try. Demons within hover around, must be nipple before they can ground. I need to act, I need to act for the peace to abound. The who above is not true. Act now, we really have to. The sky can hold its blue. Hey buddy, hey friend, just for a start, fire your heart. Five elements seek you to do your part, to do your part, do your part, to. I see a path
Jamie.
Yes, hello.
Okay, now I can hear you. So Ronnie is here too. Ronnie, have you interacted with Jamie? You remember him? He's from
Yes,
Taiwan, our own associates, and we have been working together for such a long time. So good to see you. At 1:30, we are expecting Eric Solheim, the Under Secretary General of the United Nations, the former Under Secretary General of the United Nations, and the 6th UN Environment Executive Director. He'll be here at 1:30 in next 40 minutes of time. And we have a message from UNEP coordinator on decade of ecosystem restoration. It was started last year, headed by Tim Christopherson, who was live with us last year, and he has moved on to Salesforce now. So using funding also to help climate situation. So see, Natalia Alexeva, she is at the moment in Sweden, but she was good enough to join us and send us this message. So can I request you to play this track, the message from her, V5? Yes.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. My name is Natalia Alexeva and I'm the new coordinator of the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. Happy to join you at this event and contribute with some messages from the Decade's family. I'm speaking to you today actually from Stockholm Plus 50. That's the biggest world celebration of the 50 years birthday of the Global Sustainable Development Movement. You know, our journey started here in Sweden in 1972. And if we look at the results from the positive side, of course, the really big achievements to celebrate. For example, we eradicated the production of the related fuel. As a result, we avoided more than 1 million premature deaths. We protected over 38,000 species, and we managed to come together as the world to win the hole in the ozone layer. But if you follow the science and news today, you know that we have not yet done our job. And humanity continues to wage the war on nature. The latest Global Land Outlook report stated that up to 40% of the planet's land is degraded, directly affecting the half of humanity and threatening around half of global gross domestic product. We have passed already a critical junction in the fight against climate change. And now we need to do both, cut emissions and also bring back ecosystems, such as forests, peatlands, or additional carbon, and to adapt them to the effects of climate change. The science and biodiversity is quite clear. 1 million species are at the risk of extinction. And sadly, we have crossed a line here too. Conservation efforts, while continuing to be vital, are not long enough, and we need to actively work on bringing back degraded or destroyed ecosystems. We need to protect what we have and to heal what we have damaged. It's a huge task, you know, and in fact it's almost like mission impossible, but it's possible, and that's possible only for the bigger family, and even though not the UN is not able to do it by itself. So it takes a movement, it takes all of you, and because you're the part of the generation restoration. We're the last generation that can make peace with nature and walk our talk. So that's why you may ask yourself, what can you do to support the movement and be a part of this? And here's some good news. There are countless ways to contribute to the global restoration movement, and it starts where you are. Do you know your ecosystems where I live in? City, agricultural area, rivers, coastlines, mangroves. Ask yourself, your neighbors, friends, relatives, how these ecosystems changed over the last decades. Are there things you can do to revive? How you can contribute? And then you get active, and then you could always join the groups and others around you to contribute. But of course, not everyone may have the access to the knowledge and resources to start restoration themselves, and that's also fine. In fact, we have an even bigger impact on the world's ecosystems through our food system and financial systems. So it does not stop at your doorstep either. You can support restoration efforts across the world in the ecosystems you take care about. Maybe rainforest, coral reefs, wild savannas or grasslands. So they're waiting for you. And of course, while individual efforts are important, we need transformative changes at all levels. So, for example, for the governments, they've been committing to restore over 1 billion hectares as part of their global climate and biodiversity commitments and promises. So that's an area greater than China. And yes, these goals to be reached and to be implemented. And the same also, for example, if I'm looking from other side, like investments, we know that the investments into restoration are on the rise, with major funds being announced at every opportunity. But the truth is that studies show we're far from the level of investment what is needed. We need to actually triple investment in nature, from currently 133 billion to over 339 billion. And new policy and finance are not enough either. So we need to reduce those which are causing harm right now. So we need to stop something which is killing our ecosystems. And the way we farm, for example, is a major driver of biodiversity loss. So we need urgently diversify our food systems, transform them, and to produce more sustainable and safer food for everyone, especially in the times of crisis. So on this occasion, the Go Decade on Restoration org to learn more about ecosystem restoration and what you can do to protect and heal our beautiful planet. We're all together in this movement, and we're all together in this beautiful home, our Earth. So we need to take it for our kids and younger generation to thrive and enjoy. We're all together.
So thank you. That was Natalia Alexeyeva. She has just taken over United Nations Environment Program, Head of Department of Ecosystem, Decade on Restoration. And we are facing some internet lag today for some unexplained reason, maybe climate change. So Jamie, I'll turn over to you. We're expecting Eric Soler many times, so I'll turn over to you. I'm very thankful for connecting me to Philippines and Chris Tapnio. He is joining us tomorrow. We have a beautiful mangrove project. He's a scholar from Yale University, and his friend also, Fadihi Nijma from Tanzania, will be joining us together. So I'm sure that we're going to do something Ilocos Norte.
Yes.
For sure. And we'll pull Lorraine also to fund us. We need some funds also. They have lots of money in Finland, Philippines, sorry. So Jamie, please, your take. You have been almost spent your entire career before and after Miss Earth also on educating children, environmental issues and related issues. We know when we talk about ECNA, we talk about sustainability in terms of its culture, economic, environmental, and social. These four things go together. You can't separate these four things together, separate from each other. You can't have peace, you can't have environment, you can't have, you have to take care of economics also. So we have to integrate these things together. So you take on that, and I want to hear from you, your experience.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to give a huge thanks to ACNA, Rajiv. You are absolutely right. And thank you once again for having me at this event. You know, this is an annual celebration for World Environment Day, you know, a time for us to all gather together and basically discuss about the problems we are facing and the solutions we can achieve for a greener future. So I'm truly honored to be with you all once again. And I really agree. You know, I went to an event a few days ago and got to spark conversations with a few influential people. And we spoke about the economy of the Philippines, the excitement of traveling around the world after being cooped up in our houses since the pandemic took the world by storm. And everything was free flowing, it was great. But once I brought up the discussion about climate change, the response was different, and it kind of took me off guard. And it's just, I want all of you to look back at conversations that you've had with a few people. And when you say climate change, like, how do people react? Is there a sense of urgency, or are people aware and do not care enough anymore? And the reason why I'm curious, like, for example, Rajiv, like, you know, you're around like people who are environmentalists, people who are passionate about this. But have you experienced the same thing as me, wherein you talk to somebody that doesn't really focus on finding alternatives in their everyday lives to make a sustainable world? Do you see them like shrugging this off as something that is not a priority in their lives? Because I have, and for sure you have too, right?
Yes, you're quite right. Actually, I run workshop for this Glamanand also, Miss Earth also, we have run that also. I won't say that people don't want to do anything, but there's so much of lack of awareness on things that they should know, things that are directly related to their lifestyle. We run this global footprint. We are in tune with, in touch with Matthew's work, and Nigel, he runs the global footprint network, and we've done this workshop for all these pageants we commit here also. And it's just your own footprint. So when we do that also, we have just simple 20 questions, which a class 5, 10-year-old should be able to answer. And there's such a lack of awareness on how our uses of resources is impacting our own lifestyle. And I always give an example. We all have mobiles in our hand. We look at the battery all the time. We make it sure that we don't run out of the battery. The moment it's half down, we run to a charger, a plug-in. But when it goes to earth resources, we're not bothered at all. And then you're wondering why things are happening to us and how they are happening. So this apathy, just you talked about, this indifference and the lack of knowledge combined together is a deadly force. And that is what is killing the planet. It's not that we cannot do. It's not that we don't have resources to do.
I agree.
The younger generation sometimes say it is because our forefather caused this. I don't blame the earlier predecessors, because in 1980s, 1990s, we were developing. Most of the world was in a developing mode. So maybe they did not know the consequences of what they were doing. Nobody knew the consequences. Today, we know the consequences of what we are doing. We have the resources to turn it back, and we have all the ability and all the knowledge also to do that. Now, if we do not do it, we are ourselves to blame, not the previous generation.
That's very true. See, that's why Rajiv, for me, like what scares me is the fact that there are a lot of people that aren't aware. And I agree, like that's why I am heavily into education, because how can you solve a problem if you don't even, I mean, how can you solve a problem even if you don't know that it exists, right? But after a few years of meeting people and talking about these situations and this urgent problem that we need to act now, what scares me more is the fact that I have also met people that are aware and they understand the urgency. But after, when you're done talking to them, when they go back home, they put it in their closet and they don't talk about it again until it's Earth Day or World Environment Day. And this is a big problem, not just in the Philippines, but all around the world. And so that's why I asked you like how you felt about that, because when you say climate change and how people react, I really feel like it's very similar for people when they talk a little bit about sustainable development, a phrase at which many people talk about, and once they get home, they completely forget. They quietly glaze over and switch it off. So I'm very optimistic every time when I join this Act Now conference, because I get to talk to people like you. And this gives me hope, because it shows that we want the same thing, to take the next step for generations to come. So here's the first point that we should make into a habit is don't switch it off. Like, even though if this is like a conversation that you're not having daily, it is something that we have to be mindful about. Because I think the world doesn't need a perfect environmentalist or an eco warrior. What they need is like maybe 10 imperfect environmentalists, but with the initiative to do better. And moving forward, the fact that people switch off with this problem, climate change isn't just words. It's a real thing, and a man-made climate change is a very scary real thing. Because the rise in global temperature over the last several decades is a matter of public record. You know, we have United Nations, we have WWF, we also have Gaia. And as they're trying to get or hash out more information about climate change, the result is always the same. It's real, and there is an overwhelming scientific consensus that it can only be explained by one thing: the rise in greenhouse gas emissions caused by human activities. Some people say that climate change is natural and we shouldn't worry, and I will somewhat agree with that. The answer to that is that we have indeed had naturally occurring climate change since the Earth was formed. The planet had gone through glacial and interglacial periods during the climate, or due to climate rather. But none of the natural causes of climate variation, such as the sun's output, the tilt of the Earth, volcanic activity, let's say, or even emissions from rotting vegetation can account for warming we observe today, because it's very drastic. It is very out of the ordinary, and I don't mean extraordinary in a good way. It's really not normal. And there's one thing that we can pinpoint the cause of that, and that's the emissions from fossil fuels caused by human activities over the years. The concentration of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere have increased by nearly, I believe, 30%, but this is based off a number that I saw from a study in 2018, and we're already in 2022. And this started in the Industrial Revolution in 1784. And it's not as bad as you think, because sad to say, it's worse, right, Rajiv? You would agree?
Yes.
I mean, I'm very passionate about this because here's another.
I know you sound full of things to say, and I'm sure that we are going to have a full one-to-one session with the students because they love.
Rajiv, I will want to add on something what Jamie said. There is awareness, and I think there are people are aware of it, and some of them are concerned about it too. There is a concern is there too, but when they come to action, it's a comfort. They don't want to get out of the comforts. They know the convenience is the problem. They stay in their comfort zone and they think, this is my convenience. I don't want to give up. Same like fossil fuel too. So I think that people are aware, and the problem, they are also concerned too. You can say they are really concerned about it, but when it's action, they don't want to step out of their comfort zone. And they don't want to be that person that said, yeah, I want everyone to be Gandhi, everyone want to Mother Teresa, but I don't want. That's the problem. They want others to do the action, but I will sit there and I click on my Facebook like, that's it. They need to get out of the comfort zone and do the action. I think that's what we want to educate the younger generation. Then we can see the change. And there is a change, I can see it, So yeah, that's what more important. We need to action matters.
Yeah.
Ronnie, before I turn to Eric sir, is there. I had a headmaster in my school, and he would try to do new things in the school, but the staff and some of the students, they'll always be opposing and doing all sorts of things. One day he got very angry. He got up on the stage, called the entire school. He said, there are three kinds of people in this world. One who want to do things but won't. There are second kind of people who want to do things but they can't. And there are third kind of people who want to do things but they can't, they won't, they will criticize. So this is the state of affairs in the entire world. And we have Eric Solheim, the former Under Secretary General of the United Nations and the 6th United Nations Environment Program Executive Director. Thank you, sir, very much. Have you joined from Paris or have you joined from Norway? You were traveling, I was told.
I'm joining from France. It's not exactly Paris, it's in the southern part of France, near the city of Nice.
Okay, so thank you so much. We have been all eagerly awaiting your presence here. And Eric sir is, he's traveled almost the entire globe. He is very well versed with Indian subcontinent, Sri Lanka, China, India. He knows half the population of the world closely enough, I must say. So we have a nice video from your earlier Environment Day messages. We will play a little later on because I like the whole concept that you related over there. So Eric sir, thank you very much. We had a good inauguration at Brookfield International School, little kids singing some environment songs. They have been preparing for this event for a long time. And we had Destiny Wagner, Miss Earth 2020, 2021. She joined from Belize in the midnight over there. You just now heard Jamie Harrell. She's a good friend. She was Miss Earth 2014. She works in environmental awareness, climate education. She's a TV host, actress, and whatnot. And she's always been with us. And Ronnie Anthony from Taiwan. This program is being coordinated from 5 locations in the world, from Taiwan, from India, from Philippines, and 2 more locations. So it's complicated, but it's a 24-hour non-stop. So Eric sir, for your opening comments, and you're going to stay with as long as you want, but at least for this session, your opening comments and then play some videos, and then we might have some question answer session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. And I really enjoyed the conversation between Jamie and Ronnie, which I just watched now, because they focused on what I think is very essential. What can individuals do? What can business do? And what can governments do? And I come with a very optimistic perspective, very different from many others. And this is not to deny that we have a massive problem. There is a huge triple environment crisis on the planet. Climate change, as we just heard, pollution in many cities, not least in India, and the destruction of nature. We are wiping out different species and we're destroying rainforest and other very, very important ecosystems. So there is a massive problem. That's the bad news. The good news is that we have, as was said here, all the technologies, all the policies, and all the finances needed to solve this problem. Technologies, solar energy is now the cheapest energy anywhere in the world. So if you shift to solar, not only you do very well for planet Earth, but you do very good for the economy at the same time. You save money by switching to solar, so the technological problem is resolved. Finances, I mean, look, in Glasgow last year in the climate talks, there was a lot of quarrels about $20 billion. That was what the developed nations through Hillary Clinton had promised to the developing world, and what has been actually delivered. But that's peanuts. That's very, very small money. Why do we quarrel about the small money when the big money is elsewhere? And as an example, 3 weeks after Glasgow, the People's Bank of China, the Central Bank of China, they launched a low carbon facility for China. That was $1,000 billion, 50 times what we quarrel about in Glasgow. And of course, even for the poorest part of the world, say for Madagascar or Malawi, African poor nation, it's much, much more important what the People's Bank of China does, because that will drive down the price. Solar and wind and green hydrogen will be affordable for African countries. They wouldn't need the aid from the developing world simply because they can afford the new technologies from their own resources, which of course is much, much better. And we have all the policies, and let me mention a few of them, because all the policies are win-wins. Good for the economy, good for people. I mean, we need to be people-centered. Climate change is not about temperature, it's about people, people's lives. So they're good for people, and they're good for the environment at the same time, ecology and economy. And let me mention four areas for this very, very briefly. First, renewables. If we move from coal into solar and wind, we save money, make people's life much better, health much better, and it's very, very good for Mother Earth at the same time. China now produces 60% of all new solar power in the world. 80% of all the solar panels made in the world last year were made in China. Because this cannot continue. Congratulations to China for doing great work, but the rest of the world need to follow up and do better. We need, of course, production of solar panels in massive scale in India, in Europe, other parts of the world, and we need to switch to solar everywhere. And of course, in India, Prime Minister Modi has launched any number of initiatives to drive solar energy in India. India has some of the biggest solar plants in the world in the states of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. These are the biggest singular solar plants, providing enormous energy to, of course, the Indian people who need it. Still, there are Indians who are not on the grid and who cannot afford energy, so they need more energy, but it can come from solar. India, by the way, also had the first all-solar rail station in the world in the state of Assam, first all-solar airport in the world in the state of Kerala, Kochi. So a lot is happening, and very soon India will be the second biggest producer of solar power in the world, next to China. But we all need to step up. Secondly, let's move the traffic into electricity. And here I can hold up my own nation, Norway, as a good example. The Norwegian government a few years back decided that we want to switch the cars into electric vehicles. But for that to happen, you need to give people some incentives for that. I mean, no one wants to be the first in your neighborhood to buy an electric car. You want to see it works with the neighbors before you buy it. I mean, for most people, buying a car is one of the biggest expenses for their family. They don't want to experiment with something new. So what we did was that we changed the tax burden, electric cars going down, gasoline cars going up, so that the relative price was better. And secondly, we said, if you drive an electric car, well, you get easier access to parking, to ferries. You have a lot of ferries in Norway, and you can drive in the bus lanes into the cities if there are morning congestion. And now, last year, 80% of all vehicles in Norway were electric. Very soon it will be 100%. And no one has ever been driving an electric car want to switch back, because the electric car is much, much better. Think of the following in Norway, which is a very cold place. If in the morning it's very cold, I can just take my app, I can turn on the heat in the car, and when I get into the car, it's warm. The gasoline cars, you have to spend 15 minutes to get the car warm every morning. No one wants to go back. And now you see, of course, electric mobility taking off. China last year was half the global market for electric cars. But say in the state of Maharashtra in India, the government there, 120 million people, it's bigger than the Philippines, so it's not a small place. They are making charging stations all over the state, and the buses in Mumbai, which is a huge, huge fleet of buses, will go all electric in the next few years. So the opportunity for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers to be electric is massive. Thirdly, tree planting. Let's make the planet much greener. In the Indian state of Telangana, they have increased the tree cover by 3% in the last 2 years. In the city of Hyderabad, it's a 10 million city, soon to be a 20 million city. So again, it's not a small place. It's the declared tree city of the world. And they have a huge number of beautiful urban parks in Hyderabad. And by the way, the same is happening in Bangalore and other Indian cities. And in China, President Xi just promised that China will plant an area the size of Belgium every year from now to 2030. Well, that matters. Belgium is not the biggest nation in the world, for sure, but still it's a substantial area which will be tree planted by China. But when China do this, India do this, and of course, any number of others, city of Milan in Europe has massive plans for tree planting. In London, they're now rewilding, bringing back beavers and a number of other animals which went extinct in the city, coming back by massive efforts from the city authorities of London. And fourth, agriculture. The Indian state of Andhra Pradesh, they have maybe the most interesting experiment in the world. It's called a pilot, but it's 6 million people involved, so it's not small. 6 million, that's more than the population of my nation, Norway. And what they're doing is moving into what's called zero budget natural farming. That means using much less or no fertilizer, much less or no pesticides, using the residues from the agriculture, using cow dung, using cow urine as the fertilizer. Again, better for the economy because the yields go up, better for the health because people tend to get less sick, less cancer among the farmers, and of course much better for the soil and for Mother Earth. And by the way, the Indian guru, Sadhguru, has just embarked upon a huge campaign. He was riding a bike from London to Delhi to create attention to soil, the need to protect the soil better. If we add up these four, renewable energies, electric mobility, tree planting, and a greener agriculture, because there are many more areas we need to move into a circular economy. I can mention a lot more, but the point is we have all the technologies, all the money, and all the policies we need just to mobilize the will. And finally, we know from history that change happens when three factors come together. Citizens, like say Ronnie, demand action. People who need civil society, people to demand that the leaders act. Then you need political leaders to set the vision, to drive the change. And then you need business to make change happening in scale. That was what happened, for instance, when we solved the problem of the ozone layer. It was the biggest environment problem in the world in the 1980s. It's now basically solved because people demanded action. Political leaders had the vision to make the change happen, and business made all the new equipment we need. We have much more air conditioning in the world now than we had at that time, just that the air conditioning is not destroying the ozone layer. So I think we can take an optimistic view. We know what to do. We just need to do it much more dedicated and much more urgently than we do at the moment.
Thank you, Eric, sir. Of course, your knowledge and the knowledge of the land itself is comprehensive. So it's something that strikes to us straight away. Because tell me something about the World Resource Institute, because not many people, especially the younger generation, is aware of how it works on the ground level.
Sorry, I couldn't follow. So,
can you tell us something about the WRI, how it works on the ground level? Because the younger generation is not very much in the know-how of how it works.
World Resources Institute is basically the most important global think tank on the environment. It started 40 years back as a very small American NGO, a small outfit with a few people in an office in Washington, and has now developed to the biggest think tank with offices in Delhi, Jakarta, Beijing, just to mention 3 Asian capitals, but also many other places of the world. And what it tries to do is to look into what are the best policies to drive the change, and then discuss those with civil society, with governments, and with business. If we want to move fast into solar, how can we do it in the cheapest and most environment-friendly way? So it's a global think tank to look into what are the best policies.
Okay, that's great. One question that always becomes a bone of contention in international forums is about the developing countries against the developed countries, because the developed countries are more towards doing things because their focus on poverty, education is slightly less demanding than countries like India and China, which obviously have lots of still natural resources left. But they are so overcome with the current demands of the populations, which is basically to address their poverty, education, and all sorts of the basic needs that they must fulfill. And in doing that, they find it very hard to come up to the levels of what should actually be happening on the ground level. How do you think this can be addressed? Because there is always on the international level, there's a question of you are already developed, so you can do this thing. We are still developing. We can't do that. The fight goes on. So you understand what I am trying to ask. Here also for the population also, like there are a lot of younger population who wants to do something and who wants to commit themselves to things that will improve the future. But they must look to address their day-to-day needs before they can do that. So what is the midway out where we can arrive at a solution that we progress towards our environmental protection at the same pace as any other?
This is a very important question, but I believe it's the question of the 20th century, not of the 21st. Because true, in the past, if you wanted to develop, you needed to base development on fossil fuels. There simply was no way any nation could prosper without coal, oil, and gas. So the development path was the same everywhere. I mean, starting in the United Kingdom, then going to Germany, France, United States, Japan, South Korea, China. It was the same. First, you prioritize development, and when you get rich, you start solving the problem you created. First, you pollute like hell, and then you start cleaning up. But now it's very different, because you don't need to pollute first to get a huge middle class and to bring everyone out of poverty. Solar energy is cheaper than coal. You save money if you move from coal to solar. In some places, even cheaper to close down all old coal plants and move into solar. Everywhere it's cheaper to construct a new solar plant than to construct fossil fuel plants. And of course, the energy crisis in the world coming from the war in Ukraine is also really emphasizing this, because every nation wants to be energy independent. And what does that mean? Well, you need to base your energy consumption on your own resources. And the sun is Indian, the wind is Indian, while of course the fossil fuels are coming from outside. So today there is no contradiction between development and environment. You can say, yes, thank you, we want both. And to be concrete, I think Prime Minister Modi has very, very well understood this in India. In the past, the discussion in India, whenever I came there, was exactly what you said. Do we want to develop, or do we want to take care of the planet? And surprise, surprise, 98% of all Indians wanted to develop. Everyone wanted to get out of poverty, for sure. So the environmentalists always lost that debate. But again, that was a debate in the past. Now Prime Minister Modi is saying, let's move India very fast. Let's get fast economic growth, but that is do it based on green hydrogen, just launched a mission for that, on solar, on wind. So it's a win-win. And finally, one really inspiring example, and probably maybe the most inspiring of all examples, That's Singapore. Because Singapore is one of the very few places where they're starting to go green when they were still poor. In the 1950s, Singapore, I mean, people cannot understand it now because Singapore is now probably the richest place in the world. Fantastically green also. But in the 1950s, Singapore was a very poor port. Sailors coming from Europe didn't even dare to go and land there because they were afraid of being robbed and afraid of the immense poverty in Singapore. But then they were so lucky to get a really visionary leader, Lee Kuan Yew, who said, we want to develop Singapore, but we will do it in a way which is also green. And Singapore was one of the first, much before Europe, they said, if you want to take your car and go into the city center of Singapore, well, you cannot go with just one passenger. Then you pay a fee, and the fee we use to produce a much better public transport system in Singapore. And Lee Kuan Yew in the 1970s, he moved the industries away from the Singapore River, cleaned up the river, cleaned up the seaside, and made Singapore what is today. I would claim maybe the greenest, or at least at the very certain one of the greenest cities in the world. And that happened when Singapore was still poor, not just after they got rich. So let's get out of this old discussion of environment or ecology, do both.
Okay, that's great. And that is a question that often crops up. So it's a good thing that we address it here. While you are here, we would like to show you a small promo that we made for the event, and then we'll play one of your messages. I like it so much. So can I request the team to play track B1 and then B23? B23.
Every year throughout my life, I've been up in the Norwegian mountains. My father was born in one of the valleys close to the city of Lillehammer, which once hosted the Olympics. And my family had a small hut there until very recently, no electricity, very primitive from the modern standards of life. But it was a great way of having summer holidays, winter holidays, Easter holidays. You can name all the holidays, we always went there. We did primitive fishing, we were following the cows through the landscapes, and we had all our favorite cow. We were looking for moose, and if we were very lucky we could see a moose. And there was an enormous opportunity for great outdoor sports, bicycling or moving up, watching the mountains. So that has, through my life, been my way of connecting to nature, and it has given me immense pleasure. We are asking you to tell your stories about how you connect to nature, your favorite places, your photos, and today at World Environment Day, not just sit indoor and share stories, get out there into the nature yourself and with your family. This plant is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you have all different varieties. We have the deserts of Africa, the Sahara, the rainforest, the greenery of Brazil or the Amazon. We have the mountains of the Himalayas. There is any number of variety. All of you had your particular favorite place. Today we are in Toronto, Canada, a green city, less polluted city, but also placed in the landscapes, the enormous prairie of Canada, which is also so beautiful, and with the Niagara Falls, one of the most fantastic waterfalls on planet Earth. We need to protect this planet, then we need to engage. Many of us are now city dwellers. We need to connect to nature. World Environment Day is about how we as humans can experience nature, you and me, but obviously it's also about politics, how we can take better care of Mother Earth. We need more protected areas, areas where whales at sea or lions or tigers at land can live and thrive. We need a more intelligent coexistence between humans and nature, between humans and wildlife. This week, the new railroad through Kenya from Mombasa to Nairobi was opened, and there's a good number of bypasses where elephants and other wildlife can pass the railroad. Again, that's intelligent coexistence. And we need, in a time where more than 50% of us are living in cities, we need much greener cities, green cities like right here in Toronto, where I'm standing now, but cities with public transport, where you build out forests in cities, and where you have green buildings where there are flowers and trees in the buildings. All this is possible if you just do it. We are living at a time where there is enormous opportunities to go green. Let's just grab them. Let's make the slogan made by President Macron of France this week our own. Let's make the planet great again. Happy World Environment Day.
Eric, sir, we are still 2 minutes into your session. I hope you could join the late night session also, but you told me that you are busy around that time. And I would like to show you one theme song that we composed for last year, but I hope you like it also. It's a very positive song and the lyrics are good. So can I request V6 track to be played? That's for Eric, sir.
What's gone is gone. Let's move on. Let's move on. What's gone? It's gone. Let's move on. Let's move on. The forest turned into concrete. It's green then complete. The mountainside, the lake beside, the blue river in the folklore. Let us stow them all as about, and together we can, together we can. What's gone is gone. Let's move on, let's move on. What's gone, it's gone. Let's move on, let's move on. Ocean, deserts, and the charm of the grassy field. Revive them now, is a call of the wild, is a call of the wild. And together we will, together we will. The truthful little canary, the break come to us daily. We will do it together. We will do it together. Together we will. Together together we will. What's gone is gone. Let's move on, let's move on. What's gone is gone. Let's move on, let's move on. It's gone, let's move on. What we still have, let's blind on. We can make peace with nature. A generation, we can act now, and together we can. Together we can. Together we will, together we will.
We are still into composing a theme song for this event, and I hope we'll be able to share it by evening. We are joined by, before you go, we are joined by Seni Arlo, our partner organization from where we all originated, Environment Online from Finland. It's a UN accredited institution, non-NGO, and Seni was our delegate to UNEP MGCY at UNEA 5.2 very recently. So she'll be sharing a little later her experience, and especially focused on youth. Last time when Tim Christopherson, he was online, he was behind this decade on restoration. And we know that, I don't want to be critical on this show because we want to look positive, but this is the fact that the governments the world over and the policymakers so far have failed. Failed not in the source that they don't have resources, that they're not doing enough, but maybe they're not moving with the urgency that is required. And especially it is because most of the governments are occupied with holding on to the chair and how to, which is a practical issue, obviously. If they don't have the chair, they can't do anything. So things move at a very little slow. Because just before you pointed out, it's no more a question of how to develop at the cost of nature environment. We have the technology, we have the know-how, and we have the resources, and we have willing people also to do it. Having said all that, and have all that resources, the pace of change, the way our life should be taking, is not, it still at this point of time, we don't think it is reflecting. And that is where the youth comes in picture. Because for past couple of years, youth voices have been very strong, and there's been criticism also. They just raise slogans and do nothing else. But then raising slogan is an important thing. It makes people listen to you. It forces governments to do things. Recently, we had an injunction against Shell, one of the largest corporations in the world, which was unimaginable beforehand. It was because of the voices that were raised. But we don't want to lose our cause in the voices also. They are genuine voices. They are voices just for the sake of voices because they're not practical enough. We must understand that in the philosophy right now also, we say it's our development, our life is 4 factors have to be taken care of. It's environmental, social, culture, and economic. So all these 4 things together have to go hand in hand. Otherwise, we can't develop the way we want to develop. So Eric sir, thank you very much. I hope you could stay longer, join more sessions, because you being here is a great motivator for younger kids also, youth audience. We have these beauty queens, we have these young delegates, the celebrities, and the purpose of having them is, especially in this program, they're also people who work at the ground level. They know the ground realities. They devote their resources, their hard-earned time at the cost of their own lifestyle and at the cost of their lives also. But when they are here on the screen, and the younger, the youth, the 5-year-old, the 7-year-old, the 10-year-old sees them, hears them, and sees that they are actively working on the ground, they feel motivated. For your information, we have recently started, and that was the reason also, because you see, this program also is almost, there are 10 organizations which are our partner organizations. Not only partner, they're just friend organizations, I would call them. And they have been behind this entire event. That is, the pop movement, Dr. Ash Pachori. I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Rajan Pachori some time back in Finland. We did tree planting together. His son runs it, Dr. Ash Pachori is a very good friend, very helpful. So he has an entire team behind us in the night session. They'll be there. So the pop movement Protect Our Planet is there. Our partner WSDF is there, World Sustainable Development Forum. Environment Online from Finland, that is our organization. And Envirate, Treebuddy.Earth, Mika Van Henne will join a little later on. We have Glamanand Foundation from all these beauty queens come from there. We have this Earth Foundation who have been with us for a very long time. They are very supportive. And then we have Nest from Taiwan. Ronnie is here right away. And obviously it's Act Now banner that we are all gathered here together. So the purpose was to bring people and things together, because individually are doing a lot of things. But as we stand together, we can move things faster enough with more collaborative approach, and we can actually make changes on the ground level. So we have started an Act Now Club very recently in the schools, and the purpose of this Act Now Club is to, each school has an environment club or something like that. So we are trying to highlight these actions from smaller kids also. It does not matter how small their action is. So we have given them 6 tasks for environmental awareness, for their climate action, for other factors also, that each kid can participate, and he doesn't have to give his life over it. He can just integrate into his own lifestyle. And after that, he shares with us, we highlight it. For a small kid's action, we will highlight it at the same level as the UN does its biggest events, because that is for them, that is important for them. My face is important to me, my action is important to me. If somebody else notices it, I feel happy about it. That is what exactly we're trying to do. Ronnie is here, we'll probably throw light on that Act Now also a little later on. And this time also, on the lines of UN, we have started a small Padlet where people are registering their commitments. So I'll send the link to Eric sir also a little later on. He can make his own commitment. There's a Padlet, you just go on and just add it over there. So Seni, welcome to this program. Please tune in your audio.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Where are you right now, Seni?
I'm in Stockholm at the moment.
Oh, wow. That's better. That everybody is there. We had so much difficulty this time getting the UNEP people, because the entire UNEP is in Stockholm. They're deserted Nairobi. Nobody is there. Natalia Alexeva, she sent a message yesterday from Stockholm itself. She was on a train just outside the event, but she was kind enough to send it across. Susan Gardner was supposed to be here tonight, but she's so busy that I can understand. It's 2-3 June and then the Saturday and Sunday. In India, in the Asian countries, Eric sir will know, we work 24/7. There is no regard between Saturday, Sunday, late night, early morning. We work all times across with the precious holidays. So welcome, Seni. Welcome to this program. Eric sir is here in the morning. Destiny Wagner, Jamie Harrell. There was an inauguration ceremony. It was so packed up, and even after this, it's packed up till next 24 hours. So I thank Eric sir so much. I hope you stay longer. I now turn to Seni. She'll be sharing her experience at MGCY UNEA 5.2 and the role of youth. You are the Environment Online youth delegate to that. So please share. Please go on.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for this introduction. And first of all, I'm very happy to be here and very honored to share this experience with all of you. And first, I would just like to say that let's just take a moment to imagine like how cool it is that you organized this event and gathered all these different people on the same place, people who share the same goal of having a healthy and good planet to everyone to live in the future. So I just wanted to thank you for creating this space for everyone. So my name is Senni Alho and I'm from Finland. And as said already, I'm going to talk to you about today my experience as a youth delegate in UNEA 5.2. And UNEA, as most of you probably know, is the UN Environment Program that is held in Nairobi. So I'm just going to try and share my screen with you. Let's see if it works.
Yes, we will make you co-host.
All right.
Okay, now you can share your screen.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I just created a very small like mood board for you to kind of getting to the vibe and seeing what it was like. So these first pictures are from the Youth Environment Assembly in Unia. But anyway, to begin with, I could tell you a little bit about my background story. So I'm a business student from Finland, and the reason why I first of all like wanted to start studying business is that I kind of wanted to understand like, how does the world actually work? And after studying it for a few years, I realized that that's not the right question at all. The right question is, for who does the world work for? So at that point, I realized that there's no sense in talking about profit or revenue without understanding that these questions should always be regarded like with also the notions of equity and environmental impacts as well. So a few years back, I started my sustainability studies along with my business studies, and that's when I kind of changed my whole viewpoint of how we should do things as well. And a bit later, I realized that in the business world, it's very important, of course, to make the transition as well. But also, it is very important for youth to leverage our voices in different levels. And so I started to follow these different political instruments that are used among youth in Finland as well, and the different ways we can raise our voices and our concerns. And I had a friend who shared with me this opportunity that the major group for children and youth for UNEP is offering 40 spots for youth across the globe to join this UNIA 5.2, the Environment Assembly in Nairobi. And I had zero experience about UN from before and UNEP or anything like that. And for me, it was a totally new experience, but I still was like, okay, I'm going to try and send my application in. And the MGCY is, as I said, is a major group for children and youth. And what they try to do is to get as good representation across the globe and have people who are like new to the UN processes, as well as people who already have the capacity within the processes. So I was very lucky to get selected. And that is also when I contacted Eno School and Association in Finland. And with all the support from Eno, I was able to get accreditation from them and then get to actually go to UNIA in Nairobi. And this all happened within a few weeks. And even though it felt like a lot of work and I was doubting for many moments if this is going to happen at all, I'm so happy that we did all the work and I got all the support that I did from you guys, because this was the best experience, I can say for sure, of my life. I've never learned from anywhere this much as from UNIA, actually. So when we reached UNIA, we first had a Youth Environment Assembly, which you can see here on the pictures. And in the Youth Environment Assembly, the idea was that the youth gathered there together and we learned about UNEP, UNIAS, and what are the different processes there, as well as what is the youth role in these different systems. We had different capacity building sessions, and we learned about the language, for example, in the UN and in UNIA. And being a first timer, I have to say, it felt like learning a whole new language. And it really is still a struggle, I have to say, because everything is kind of like expressed with different abbreviations, like UNIA or MGCY and all these different like words that you have to remember. And the way people express themselves is a bit, it's very different from the grassroots organization language that I've been used to in Finland. So it was a new experience in so many different levels, starting by like learning the whole new language as well. But in Youth Environment Assembly, we kind of learned, like, for example, how to draft interventions, how can we organize bilateral meetings with different member states, what is like the youth going to do in the whole process of UNIA, etc. And it was an amazing experience. But during this very intensive weekend, the best part was to meet the fellow youth, which you can see in the pictures here as well. And it really is inspiring to meet youth who are so devoted to this one goal that we all share, to get this feeling of community that you get from nowhere else. honestly. And also with the youth, you can feel so much hope. It's incredible. Like everyone is so hopeful for the future because like what, that's the only thing that gets us going, right? But it's also something that we all share, that we can make the world better if we just trust each other, we support each other, and we bring our voices to the tables as well. So after this one weekend of Youth Environment Assembly, we started the OECPRs, which are the open-ended Committee of Permanent Representatives. Horrible word, I know. But anyway, the idea is that OECPRs precede the actual UNEA negotiations. And these OECPRs, even though they are not as famous as the UNEA meetings, it is actually the most important part when it comes to the resolutions. So during OECPRs, we were able to deliver interventions, have meetings with different representatives, try to bring our youth voices. And really our main message across all these different meetings was that we had a few main messages. One of them was obviously that we need meaningful youth engagement, because youth is usually regarded as tokenism, as tokens in these kind of environments. And unfortunately, it's still visible there that sometimes youth are only included because they want to say that, hey, we have been hearing these different stakeholder groups. But if you actually want to engage youth in a meaningful way, you don't just listen to them, you actually consider and co-create with them what they are saying and try to make sure that you both kind of like are trying to design this future together. And the other voice that we try to raise in all these different meetings is, well, the name of this event as well. So we said, act now. And act now is really something that is lacking in these different UN environments, as we all know, and there are good reasons for it. Like, I totally agree with that. Like, of course, when we have like this democracy of like almost 200 countries, it cannot just, decisions don't happen right away. But the thing is that UNEP has existed for 50 years. So really, we need to accelerate our actions very fast. And we want to see the action happening right now. We don't want more empty words, we want action. And we want results as well, because we don't have another 50 years to see if UNEP will actually deliver or not. So during these OECPRs, wait, I'll just change the slide. It was a very hectic week. And I feel like that was the week when we had the most opportunities to actually influence these different parties and to really bring our voices across. And also, as kind of like Ravi said, like in the beginning as well, it's not just about like youth being loud. And also sometimes I can say, like, as a youth, it feels like some people are saying as well, like youth are just saying like, hey, you have to engage us, but what are you actually bringing to the table? But what we're bringing to the table is being unreasonable. And I know that it sounds weird, like why being unreasonable is a good thing, but it really is, because no one else will. Everyone else has kind of like the responsibility of being the experts in their field. They have responsibilities to be on the same page with their countries as well. But youth and the other major groups and stakeholders, we can be unreasonable. We don't have to be the experts in like these environmental fields, like in the law of environmental governance, for example. But our role is to make sure that we bring the strong voices there. Because when we have a spectrum of, let's say, very these kind of political voices that are not really saying anything, or they're saying it in such a delicate way that the message doesn't really get through. And then we have the youth voices, for example, which are extremely strong and powerful, and we demand them to act now. It means that actually the things that are happening in the middle are slowly shifting towards the more action side, because if people only bring like the very kind of like delicate voices into the discussion, you don't really get the sense of urgency anymore. So I think that's one of our biggest contributions here, as well as, of course, representing what the youth wants from the future, because really the future is ours. We are the groups who are the most affected by the decisions made today, as we all know. But yeah, after OECPRs, what happened is that UNIA started, and UNIA is the 3 days full of meetings where different member states are seeing like what resolutions got agreed upon, and then they're implemented. And this year, 17 resolutions were originally brought to the OECPRs, and from those 17 resolutions, 14 were adopted. And one of the most memorable one from this UNIA 5.2 was the resolution to end plastic pollution. And this was, of course, a huge victory. And people say, like, there were many people saying that this is perhaps the most impactful UNIA this far. But still, with the plastic pollution treaty, the problem is that every country, of course, can figure out their own ways to end the plastic pollution and figure out their own ways of doing that. So we still need work making sure that we get a very strong framework into this, and we get a very strong clauses and very strong paragraphs regarding these different resolutions, so that we make sure that they are actually implemented in a meaningful way and they're not just empty words once again. And the UNIA sessions, I found them very interesting, but at the same time, they were pretty predetermined as well, because different member states, of course, had already figured out what they want to say there. And yeah, they had like already had these different statements made. And the voices that we brought there is that also, like, if it doesn't make sense that we have almost 200 countries coming into the same halls and then not listening to each other, you know, like that's just a waste of resources. So in our opinion, what should be happening is that when we have these different countries coming together, they should actually focus more on working together and making sure that they are listening to others as well and commenting on their suggestions, for example, and not just making sure that, hey, this is what we want and we're not listening to anyone's anymore. So we would like to see more cooperation, more dialogue, more actually working together within UNIA as well. So it was a very nice experience overall. And on a very personal level, it was, I really gained a lot from UNIA. Like in general, like I met this most amazing youth there, and my capacity grew a lot. And for example, it's really a very new field to me to be engaged like with environmental governance, for example. But coming back from UNIA, in Finland, we actually started as a group of youth working on this youth position paper on the new biodiversity strategy in Finland. And before UNIA, I really never knew that I would have the capacity to actually contribute to these kind of processes. But coming back from these places, I realized that it just made sound difficult, you know, like, of course it is difficult for everyone, but that's the huge issue there. If people think that these kind of processes are difficult, it makes them more exclusive as well. So the most important part is to make sure that everyone understands that you can contribute the way you, like you can contribute with your existing knowledge as well. Like you don't have to be an expert in the field. The expertise that you're bringing is that you're representing the voices of your own demographic group. And yeah, I'm very grateful for having to being in UNIA, but at the same time, I have to say, I was impressed and yet kind of disappointed in UNEP as an organization, both at the same time. It was amazing to see different member states working night and day, very relentlessly to bring these different resolutions through. And it was awesome to see people who have been working with environmental governance for like more than 20 years, and they still have the spark in their eyes, and they're still willing to work to get these little steps toward a healthy planet. But at the same time, I feel like UNEP really doesn't reflect the facts anymore. Like as an organization, it doesn't reflect the fact that we are in a decade of action. And as long as we have very slow and very weak kind of political will and these processes, we are not really delivering fast enough. And I was actually just participating in Stockholm Plus 50. And you may know that this was a conference held in Stockholm where the idea was to celebrate the 50-year path of UNEP, as well as reflect on what has been done and what are the next steps forward to accelerate the environmental actions towards a healthy planet and prosperity for all. But for youth, this is not a celebration. 50 years of UNEP is not a celebration. It's a huge warning for us, because there should be nothing to celebrate about the fact that, of course, like we have had successes as well within these different like UNEP organizations and in UN in general. Like we have had SDGs, we have had Montreal Protocol, like we have had nice things as well. But it's not enough as long as the trend is going downward and we are heading towards a climate disaster. So here in Stockholm Plus 50, I have to say I'm pretty disappointed with the end result. The recommendations were not very clear with the outcomes of this, these whole sessions. But at the same time, even though it feels frustrating not to see things happening fast enough, we have to remember that every step is a step forward. And even in Stockholm Plus 50, there might have been like these small meetings between different states, and we had a lot of discussions with different representatives. And who knows, like perhaps with these small discussions, even though they are not as grand as having these huge statements made in the hallways, you still might influence someone on a level that might affect further, the butterfly effect, for example. Every action, every time you speak up, you might make a difference on a level that you do not yet understand. And that is what I'm hoping to see from the Stockholm Plus 50 as well, and what I hope to see within these UNEP organizations in the future as well. But we do need action, and we do need it now. But I wish to see more dialogue. I wish to see more actual collaboration. I wish to see less hierarchy. And I wish to see like people coming together, understanding that we cannot just disagree on things, but let's find a common ground to work together and put our different disagreements aside and see people actually as human beings and work together with empathy. So these are my wishes for UNEP, and it looks like I just kept it within 30 minutes, so I'm gonna stop this presentation now, but I'm very happy that you were here listening to me, and it has been a pleasure.
Thank you. Where did you? Yeah, thank you, Seni, so much. Now we have one of the greatest friends, Mr. Mika Van Hanen, your own. He looks very tired. He has been very, very busy with his webinars, and he has not been helping me at all. I not a complaint, but congratulations, Mika, for the successful webinar you had for Treebuddy, and we had this events going together, and you find time to be here. I'm also looking for Pekka. He is nowhere to be seen as of now. Thank you, Seni, so much for sharing your experience at UNEP. I had similar views on UNEP, but there's one more thing. In my country, sometimes people criticize the police because the police force is very different. I mean, they're not like European police. So they say they are just useless. So I say just remove the police from the streets and see what happens. Same goes for UNEP. We must understand that's not an autonomous body, although it is, but it's not exactly an autonomous body. It's drawn from several countries, so they have their own limitations. They don't have the executive powers as such. But without them, do you think anything would have improved at all? At least they have been able to give us some framework, some goals, some definite targets that can be achieved. Without them, maybe we would have been worse. So it's true that the pace is very slow, but then it is a failure of the governments and the policymakers. And when I was talking to Eric also, it's because most of the country which is in developing stage, the priorities of the government are very different. They have to first hold on to their chair, otherwise they can't do anything. So these things take a second run. That is why UNEP and we feel that the role of youth is very important, because their generation can move things. In home also they make such a hue and cry that the things get to move. So in the world also they can make a lot of noise at least to get things moving. But your observation of MGCY UNEA was very, very accurate, and it's very pointed. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you stay on, because now we have Mika. Our association goes now 22 years. In 3 years, we'll be celebrating our silver jubilee. And here is Pekka, almost turned the Tibetan now. So Mika, for the advantage of general audience, although almost everybody on this show knows him, we also have Mary Turunen. She just joined in here, so I'll take her on the screen. So it's a great family now sitting here together. We are all very old, known to each other. Mika founded Environment Online. Then he's now with Treebuddy.Earth. Pekka is the founder of Treebuddy and Envirate. And we have a great team. Together, we can move a lot of things. So welcome, Mika. Welcome, Pekka. Welcome, Harry Turunen, wherever you are. You're always moving around. I don't know where you are currently. So now I will hand over to Mika. But since the morning, we have had some great people and messages. We had Eric Solheim, the Under Secretary General of the United Nations, the former, and he was the 6th United Nations Executive Director. We had a message from Natalia Alexeva from Sweden. She is attending plus 50 years of UNEP, but she was kind enough to join us in the morning. Then we had Destiny Wagner, Miss Earth 2021. We had Jamie Harrell, our old friend, and so many other guests so far. Seni just finished talking. We have Mika, Pekka, and now next hours are also very busy, very packed up, and I'm thankful to all of you for being here. So over to you, Mika. You're not going to sing anything today, I was hoping. Your mic is off.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you. Yesterday, I was playing and singing with kids, so I have been very busy, and well, maybe when we will organize this in September, maybe I will sing then.
Yeah, I know you've been very busy. We have 2 videos. We will play that song that we have made for Pacfpeace, and that is, I'll show in a while. Before I, Pekka, how are you? Can you hear me? Your audio is off, Pekka. Your audio, yes.
Hi. Great to see you guys all, and so. Well, all good here, and let Mika have the floor, please.
He already had the floor and the roof also. Only walls are left for you.
Yeah, but I will continue after. Yeah.
Okay, I'll first show the videos, and we have a nice promo video we made for 1 minute one. So I'll request JK. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You please play track V1, then V34 and 35. Play all together. And then play V34 and 35.
Burden's too hard, it's like a stone. If only on your own, just take my hand. You're not alone. Some hope inside an evening star. Little light there so far. Better tomorrow. Believe in me. Together we stand for unity. We grow trees in harmony. When the hatred and confusion's everywhere, we need to build bridges more and more. Even some try to burn them all. We are different yet, but we are all the same. Taking some steps to change the world, even if quietly. Peace is our way. Love is the key. Taking some steps to change the world, even if quietly. Peace is our way. Love is the key. Peace is our way. Love is the key.
And V35, that is on Treebuddy.
Locals plant trees and mark them to a global map with a photo. They receive €1 for each tree. Our app shows visual and detailed information of the trees and global view of planted trees. Trees are easily shareable internet links, ideal also for education and social media. The tree planters make a status update of a tree with a photo after 1 year, and again they receive €1 for their community. The same happens after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, etc. Communities get support for decades to go. In this Treebuddy global model, locals have a true economic incentive to not cut trees down, but keep them well for decades to go.
Can we play V5? That's we had this video from Natalia Alexieva, UNEP coordinator. She just took over the department on 22nd May, the Ecosystem Restoration Department, V5.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. My name is Natalia Alexieva and I'm the new coordinator of the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. Happy to join you at this event and contribute with some messages from the Decade's family. I'm speaking to you today actually from Stockholm Plus 50. That's the biggest world celebration of the 50 years birthday of the Global Sustainable Development Movement. You know, our journey started here in Sweden in 1972. And if we look at the results from the positive side, of course, there are really big achievements to celebrate. For example, we eradicated the production of the related fuel. As a result, we avoided more than 1 million premature deaths. We protected over 38,000 species, and we managed to come together at the world to win the hole in the ozone layer. But if you follow the science and news today, you know that we have not yet done our job. And humanity continues to wage the war on nature. The latest Global Land Outlook report stated that up to 40% of the planet's land is degraded, directly affecting the half of humanity and threatening around half of global gross domestic product. We have passed already a critical junction in the fight against climate change, and now we need to do both, cut emissions and also bring back ecosystems, such as forests, peatlands, etc., to store additional carbon and to adapt them to the effects of climate change. The science and biodiversity is quite clear. 1 million species are at the risk of extinction. And sadly, we have crossed a line here too. Conservation efforts, while continuing to be vital, are not long enough, and we need to actively work on bringing back degraded or destroyed ecosystems. We need to protect what we have and to heal what we have damaged. It's a huge task, you know, and in fact it's almost like mission impossible, but it's possible, and that's possible only for the bigger family, and even though not the UN is not able to do it by itself. So it takes a movement, it takes all of you, and because you're the part of the generation restoration. We're the last generation that can make peace with nature and walk our talk. So that's why you may ask yourself, what can you do to support the movement and be a part of this? And here's some good news. There are countless ways to contribute to the global restoration movement, and it starts where you are. Do you know your ecosystems where you live in? City, agricultural area, rivers, coastlines, mangroves. Ask yourself, your neighbors, friends, relatives, how these ecosystems changed over the last decades. Are there things you can do to revive? How you can contribute? And then you get active, and then you could always join the groups and others around you to contribute. But of course, not everyone may have the access to the knowledge and resources to start restoration themselves, and that's also fine. In fact, we have an even bigger impact on the world's ecosystems through our food system and financial systems. So it does not stop at your doorstep either. You can support restoration efforts across the world in the ecosystems you take care about. Maybe rainforest, coral reefs, wild savannas or grasslands. So they're waiting for you. And of course, while individual efforts are important, we need transformative changes at all levels. So for example, for the governments, they've been committing to restore over 1 billion hectares as part of their global climate and biodiversity commitments and promises. So that's an area greater than China. And yes, these goals to be reached and to be implemented. And the same also, for example, if we're looking from other side, like investments, we know that the investments into restoration are on the rise, with major funds being announced at every opportunity. But the truth is that studies show we are far from the level of investment what is needed. We need to actually triple investment in nature, from currently 133 billion to over 339 billion. And new policy and finance are not enough either. So we need to reduce those which are causing harm right now. So we need to stop something which is killing our ecosystems. And the way we farm, for example, is a major driver of biodiversity loss. So we need urgently diversify our food systems, transform them, and to produce more sustainable and safer food for everyone, especially in the times of crisis. So on this occasion of the World Environment Day, I encourage you to get active and go to decade-on-restoration.org to learn more about ecosystem restoration and what you can do to protect and heal our beautiful planet. We're all together in this movement, and we're all together in this beautiful home, our Earth. So we need to take it for our kids and younger generation to thrive and enjoy. We're all together. Hoping on your action. Thank you.
Thank you. Before Dr. Tuomo is already here and Mary is here, I'll turn to Mika first. He looks very serious today. Mika, can you turn on your audio? Okay. 22 years of Environment Online, 5 years of Envirate, 3 years of Treebuddy, 3 months of Ukraine war, and the immediate threat to Finland also. How do you see things moving forward? Your entire life environment, obviously.
To go forward, you asked. How
do you see the future, near future, not too long?
Well, I can see future as a possibilities. Of course, there are threats, but we have possibilities, and we have to do together things for the environment. And I look at very positive, but of course we have to focus on certain things like biodiversity and climate crisis, and that's actually what we are doing here, and of course in Eno and with you and all the other people. But it's just different ways to reach targets. So we need them. We need businesses. We need NGOs. We need citizens. We need them all in cooperation.
Okay, so you're very hopeful that there is a future which we will be able to see before we become history.
Yes, well, I look forward to that. Stockholm, 1970, from 1972. There's 50 years of UNEP. So it's the sustainable development really that matters.
That's great. Pekka, he's an innovator. Can you switch on your audio? Can you hear me?
Yes, all good now.
We are joined by Dr. Tuomo also. So I am addressing Pekka, his take on, because he's an innovator. He's busy building apps and things and then getting people together. And he's a very, very God-loving person. I know his relationship with Tibet, and I don't want to reveal everything here. So Pekka, how are you first of all? And then how do you see things moving forward? Because you are behind some of the greatest technology that has been built and put to use also. And networking with Mika and the team that we have together, we can actually now do a lot of technically, scientifically, and obviously on the ground level, laymen like us who can simply do things without getting involved with technology. And obviously we'll move on to Dr. Tuomo, who is the expert on technology and ecosystem restoration with forests. So Pekka, I want to hear from you.
Yes, it's important to be aware of things, to have knowledge on how things are going. However, it's not so good to bombard oneself over excessively with all doomsday news, etc. I mean, it's important to find good balance between your actions and your knowledge. So therefore, we want to provide solutions that are easy to use for either individuals or for companies use. And therefore, we have tried to make it as concrete as possible, so that in our tree solution, for example, in our internet page, everybody can calculate how many mangroves do they need for their own personal lives to make themselves climate positive, which is quite interesting. I mean, it varies a lot from country to another, but let's say, for example, in Europe, it's in average 14 mangroves that you need to make your that and keep it for 20 years to make yourself climate positive for next 20 years. So I mean, it's so important to have this message of hope that we're not talking about something which is not reachable. If everyone would have, for example, I'm not saying that we would be the only providers, but just an example that we have to have a lot of trees in this world, and this amount of trees are something which is completely reachable. But we have to use ways that are new and innovative, and also maybe to target to companies, because we as individuals, we all have our own small budgetary resources, and we have many things that we can buy. It's not so possible always to start, let's say, to adopting yourself mangrove trees from your own wallet, but maybe our companies, they would be the ones that have to be the forerunners and kind of show the way. And I'm sure that especially in today's world where companies are competing of the resources, best skilled workers, especially for example in IT sectors where best coders they can be really much more productive than average ones. And so those guys are not only interested in how much money they get, how much salary they get, but you have to have a company which is showing the way, having a company image that is really aligned with the challenges that we have in this world. And therefore we are providing for companies this climate positivity for their workers. What I mean by that companies, okay, they nowadays already do carbon credit things regarding their own emissions, but think about it. Companies will have a possibility to say that they have made all their workers' personal lives climate positive. It's the companies that are forerunners in that, and that's what we want to promote for future quite a bit. And we believe that companies will be making and having a crucial role here.
Thank you, Pekka. And Mikael, you just being here is a great inspiration. I remember when we planned in 2020, Mika and I planned to have this 24-hour event. We were really very skeptical how we are going to do it. But we saw a great opportunity of bringing people and things and organizations together, which is a great eye-opener, because we see the different kind of things that are happening and the kind of people that are involved. And it boosts our morale also. There are people, lay people like us who have know nothing of technology, but we can move things forward. So everybody can contribute. And it's great to have people, all of us as a family. Mary is here. I'll turn briefly to her, and then Dr. Tuomo is waiting. And before Mika, because he is the only musician here on the panel, I have a beautiful flute recital from one of our teen girls of Miss Teen Diva contestant. We'll play that video, and then I'll turn on to Dr. Tuomo. So Mary, how are you? You're tired? I can only see half of your screen. Kaya, I don't know, she has disappeared. She is hibernating in Japan. I don't know where is she. So how is everything? Can you hear? Your audio is turned off. Yes,
Hey,
we can see you now.
Greetings from Joensuu. This is a traveling day for me to the south of Finland, but I'm still here in Joensuu. And yesterday we had this big Finnish summer opening festival. There was also Mika Vanhanen there playing piano. And we actually had greetings for this event in the music festival, and we can probably watch it from the video.
Yes, but I want to show it. So because it's a long video, I don't know which time it is.
Yes.
So if somebody
Yes,
can play it live, it will be nice. Or you can make a screen recording of that and send us.
I have the video here if you want, and I know the exact place where it starts. So if you want, I can probably share it.
Can you send the video? Is it possible?
I can send the video, but it's very long. It's 1 hour long, and maybe for you it's difficult to find the exact place where we say greetings. So if you allow me to share, I can show it now.
Yes, of course you share it. Wait, I will make you a co-host so you can share it. And Mika is good with technology. Maybe he can screen record it. I'm going to bug him now.
Okay, I have it here. I have it here.
Yes, you can share now.
Okay, a moment.
Mika will help us screen record that particular portion and send it to us so we can show in the other shows also, other time also.
Where it is, there it is. And you can hear now. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
You can see the festival there. Okay, now they are explaining that in this Finnish summer opening festival, there has been guests from Asia, from Africa, and from America. And they are explaining to the big crowd that these people right now are watching this event, and the big crowd will say hello to this event a moment. Just to make sure you can see this video.
Sitten meillä on Tohmajärveltä Maijulassilan koulusta vieraita, Liperistä, Viinijärven ja Salokylän kouluista ja Juuasta Poikolan koulusta. Eli kaikille teille maakuntavieraille oikein lämpimästi vielä tervetuloa ja annetaan isot vilkutukset meidän maakuntavieraille myös.
Näyttäkääs vielä missä te ootte kaikki. Yes. Moikka. Tosiaan kauimmat suven avaustapahtuman vieraat on tulleet aina Aasiasta, Afrikasta ja Amerikasta asti osana tällaista ENO-verkkokoulun kansainvälistä vaihtotoimintaa. Osa näistä menneiden vuosien vieraista seuraa tätä tapahtumaa suorana osana Act Now, There is Only One Earth, maailman ympäristöpäivän tapahtumaa. Joten me voitaisiin nyt kaikki lähettää heille vilkuttamalla terveiset tonne kameraan. Eli minä sanon YKK, niin kaikki vilkuttaa tuonne. Okei? YKK!
Can you remind it?
Moi!
Now they are winking to you to act now.
Että hei vaan maailma! Laulurinteellä on tänä vuonna...
there it was.
Can you replay and rewind it because I could not record it? You spoke in between.
Rewind it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back. I need to share it again, right? You cannot see it. Okay, a moment.
Don't speak in between.
Okay.
Yes.
Nyt, now.
Moikka.
I won't speak anymore.
Tosiaan kauimmat suven avaustapahtuman vieraat on tulleet aina Aasiasta, Afrikasta ja Amerikasta asti osana tällaista ENO-verkkokoulun kansainvälistä vaihtotoimintaa. Osa näistä menneiden vuosien vieraista seuraa tätä tapahtumaa nyt suorana osana Act Now, There is Only One Earth, maailman ympäristöpäivän tapahtumaa. Joten me voitaisiin nyt kaikki lähettää heille vilkuttamalla terveiset tonne kameraan. Eli minä sanon YKK, niin kaikki vilkuttaa tuonne. Okei? YKK! Moi!
Sinne lähti maailmalle terkut.
Että hei vaan maailma! Laulurinteellä on tänä vuonna osalla kouluista mukana myös.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So here we are. We will play a nice musical piece from one of our girls. She's a flutist and she plays beautiful one of our songs. And then Dr. Tuomo is waiting. We need to hear from him also. So can I request you to play track V13, Palachan Flute? It is a Hindi song, but you will understand the music. one of our Miss Teen Diva girls. She's very good with flute. She's a professional flutist and she's all of 17 years old. So it's a popular Hindi song that she's rented it on flute. She'll be joining later in the program. Welcome.